There's a lot of people in my world, in this more artist, creative industries world, that are extensively have been working in this area of the body immersion for some of them 20, 30 years. So I think the artist scene, particularly, and the creatives in that edge of creative industries, probably the most important people. And many of them have been working with commerce and with large companies, etc., to develop early stages of things as well. So it isn't a separated world; it is an incubator world as such. So. And so there's three names I thought would be good to put forward. One is a wonderful woman called Tekla Schriphorst, who's based in Vancouver at Simon Fraser University, but she's a well-known artist in her own right, and she did some very early, and still is, working with haptic and tactile, so a touch environment. And we brought her work into the ICA actually in the mid-90s, and she still comes back and forward and does keynotes, but she's just an amazing expert on the kinetic and the kinesthetic, and she knows all of her the body side and the technology side, and she puts them together into wonderful projects which are very much about your own sonification, your own visualization, and that emerging around you from biofeedback, from heartbeat, from breath, etc., and then connecting that to others, so that actually if you and I were feeding that data from ourselves, and it was creating sound and visuals which suited me, which was yours, then we could connect and put them together and become in a pool, even if we were at a distance, so we can actually link up on that. So, and she's making wonderful dresses to wearables, so that whole area of wearables I've been working with for a while, so actually immersing various things within huge wonderful gowns and dresses which are moving forward as well. So. And then there's Jenny Tillotson, who I'd mentioned as the smell artist, working in R&D with several different companies, developing different projects at the moment, looking particularly at the use of smell within health and well-being too. So there's the dogs that start to smell cancers, the area of that whole what we don't know about smell, but then developing that into a wearable context and into connectivity contexts. And then the third person is a woman called Char Davis, and she's a well-known international artist. I think she's Canadian as well. And it was my first virtual reality immersion in a way, was when she had a piece at the Barbican in the mid-90s called Osmos. And that was the most incredible, mind-blowing experience, and it taught me so much. And she's still doing some incredibly brilliant work. She's doing some amazing writing. She's very much top of the field in terms of the understanding of immersion from the spatial aspect of it, and what that means to the body, and what that means to us psychologically as well, and how we move through it, how we navigate and orientate, how we actually feel within those environments. The panel discussion I'd like to propose would be immersion versus mobility. And I think we're in a point in time where this has to somehow, rather than be a versus, something has to merge. And we're starting to see it. We all go around with our mobiles, with everything we need on them. And we now know, of course, some mobiles are going to start to have small projectors. So like the MIT Sixth Sense project, where you will be able to project onto your hand, or actually onto a wall, even to share between 3 or 4 of you. So the beginning of being able to jointly look physically together at something which actually is just normally in this small little screen. But on the immersion side, of course, totally being surrounded by sound and audio visual and sense enhancement in that way, we're still not really in an access point to the kind of cave environments that they have within business or university or medicine. There's some in the entertainment business, in Disney, etc. There's the beginning of dome environments being built. There's a new one in Montreal at the moment, which will open this autumn, called SAT, the Society for Artists and Technologies. And that would be wonderful to have a few more of those environments in the UK. And there's artists starting to make work for those. But at this point in time, how do we get some kind of balance between these two? And what is the future of those two? How do they merge? How do we find environments for immersion, for 3D, which actually are action environments, not just observation environments, where we can do activities together and which we can share together in those situations physically and still be moving in this kind of blending between the virtual and the physical. So I think that would be quite interesting to get some debate going on that. My name's Ghislaine Boddington. I'm the Creative Director of Body Data Space. We work in East London as a design collective, and my specialisation is telepresence, evolving from an obsession with Beam Me Up Scotty from when I was a kid and from working with dance and video in my earlier years. The future possibilities of being able to gather around us what we need at any point, information or visuals or etc., need to be available wherever we are, and are becoming more so with augmented reality situations, with obviously our mobiles going with us, etc. But I still think there's a long way to go in terms of architecture, and we work a lot with architects too. My co-director is an architect. He's working with soft skin architecture and liquid crystals, so the beginning of being able to put data into buildings, which actually into the soft skins of the buildings, which allows you to maybe see what you've got on your mobile in a bigger situation, but also to feed from the building itself. So that to make the environment work more for us in that sense. The architectural side, I'd like to mention Vector Foil Tech, who are working with this ETFE developments in research with other people, looking at the data flow into the building, the material of buildings. From the concepts of use of telepresence, we've just commissioned Joseph Hyde, who's an artist who's been working with telepresence for a while, but is actually now going to make a piece which connect with telepresence, which will be a 4-portal piece between Istanbul, Paris, London and Mons, which will take place next June. So that's a new commission, and I'm excited to see how those two, the telepresence side, which I know well, but also the connect motion capture side, come together in that. Gostai Jazz Robot, which is fantastic, which is a telepresence robot, and that's an embodiment project, because you've got both the telepresence there through the audio visual, but you also have this physical presence of this little robot there, so you have to give him space. It's not just a screen-based environment. You've got to think slightly differently about him. Two other areas which I'd like to mention. One is obviously rapid prototyping, and I think this area could develop massively in terms of thinking back to the artisan and crafts and craft skills, and the kind of new apprenticeship schemes, particularly with groups like Makers Guild starting, where people will gather together to get, you know, top-level digital machines and share them between each other so that they can actually move forward on that digital artisan side. And that also, that whole thing about local economy with that is wonderful. The connections that you can make. Apps like Inception, the Inception free download that actually came as an advert, I think, for the film, but which is a wonderful example of an environment, a sound environment, which you add to yourself through your location, your GPS location, the time of day, whether it's, you know, full moon point or what the weather's like, and also, of course, by the sounds that you're bringing into it from the environment around you or from your own voice through the microphone. So this possibility to actually create entirely your own aural situation around yourself, which is very backed up obviously by these soundscapes behind it, but which you can also choose your atmosphere, a quieter or a more rhythmic situation. I think there's a long way to go with that too.